Hey, what's up everybody? This is OurMusicBox, and today I want to show you guys a build for Amara that is still really good on Mayhem 4, but has a lot less requirements and specifically a lot less anointed requirements than a lot of other builds do. So let's go straight into the talents. So this build came about because I was going to go back and rebuild and re-go over a lot of the builds I did when the game first came out, that first month and a half. But as going over them, I realized most of them either just completely suck and don't work anymore, specifically a lot of the Mo's builds, or they're just not very strong in Mayhem 4. Now this build is still one of the best, one of the strongest builds in the game, and it's still really good in Mayhem 4 without needing a lot of the best anointed. Now also take into consideration that this is more focused on mobbing. So if you want to kill bosses really quickly, either do another build or you're going to need the specific weapons with the good anointeds on them. You could still do the bosses on Mayhem 4 without the top anointeds, but it's going to take a while to do them. So the main thing you're going to need with this build is the Phase Zerker class mod. Now what this does is on action skill end, you gain your max rush stacks. Now these are generic rush stacks, and with their talent setup, we get 25, but they decay over time now. Amara also gains 2% weapon damage and 1% action skill cooldown rate per rush stack. Now this used to be 3% weapon damage and 10% action skill cooldown rate, but from what I've seen on Reddit, multiple people testing on Reddit, this seems to still be 3% weapon damage and 10% action skill cooldown rate. It just seems to be a text issue. I haven't tested it myself, but this also isn't the main reason we are using this class mod. It's mainly to get those generic rush stacks up so we could stack our rush stack talents very easily. Now, for our main talent tree, Mythical Assault, 5 into Do Harm. This is the main talent of the build. For every rush stack, you gain a stack of Do Harm that gives you 4.5% action skill damage. Now, this will stack up to 99. The 25 stack cap is generic stacks, but this will go up to 99, and this is pretty much how we just one-shot a ton of enemies. 3 into Fast Hands, mainly for reload speed, which we do reload a lot. Then 1 into Violent Tapestry, just to have it. This increases our stats affect chance as rush stacks. This goes to 99 as well. 5 into Restless for action skill cooldown rate. 1 into Ascendant for mainly either Allure Radius, which is basically a vortex, or Soul Sap Lifesteal if you need more lifesteal. 3 into Firm Rest because I'm mainly using weapons with charge speed, your Amara, so a lot of melee 1 weapons. And then Fire Rate. Then Laid Bare. Enemies take increased damage from all sources after being damaged by Amara's action skill. This is pretty good as well. And you'll see why when we go into how this build actually works and pretty much comes together. Then 1 into Wrath for gun damage and double gun damage after you use your action skill. Then Remnant. Whenever you kill an enemy with a gun or action skill, you create a humming projectile that seeks out enemies doing damage and then doing overkill damage. Now this is really insane because a lot of the time when you're basically doing your mobbing, you kill a whole group of enemies very quickly, it will just send out balls that can one-shot a bunch of other enemies. They're very, very strong. Then Avatar, which gives us more rush stacks, which helps us get to our 25 generic rush stack cap and lets us use 2 action skills within 1 cooldown. Next, we're going Festive Element, 7 into Anima for status effect damage duration, 5 into Infusion for basically converting a portion of our damage to our action skill element, which is very good when you're using, say, fire, and then your weapon is using some other element. 5 into Tempest, which is just increased elemental damage. Dread, whenever you grasp an enemy, you gain increased gun damage. 3 into Indiscriminate, which basically can ricochet your bullets everywhere. 1 into Deep Well, increase your magazine size with elemental weapons. Then 2 into Sustainment, which gives you lifesteal off elemental weapons. This is the main way we heal, and it pretty much full heals us every time we damage something, majority of the time. And that's all for our talents. Now for our abilities. So mainly I'm going to be using Soulfire for the fire. You could switch it to shock if you're not using a shock weapon and you're going against something that's shock, I guess, which would kind of be opposite. But usually I keep it on Soulfire. Allure, which creates a singularity, pulls thing in. I like this more than your Soul Sap, which is the main other one because we really don't need the extra lifesteal. Then it ties the Bind, which binds an enemy and then links it to all other enemies. All the other enemies take a percentage of the damage the main one takes. Now the reason this is so important with this build is because the main target does not take action skill damage, but all of the linked targets are considered to be taking action skill damage from the Ties that Bind main enemy, which makes our Do Harm that stacks up to 99 times and gets action skill damage with every stack do action skill damage to all those other enemies. All those other enemies will get Laid Bare applied to them, which just makes this do extremely high burst damage with mobbing. You'll see that I'll pretty much have myself stacked up. I'll phase grasp an enemy. I will shoot my weapon at them. Everything will die. Pretty much. Especially with the main weapon we are using for mobbing. This just absolutely destroys everything. Pretty much one-shots a lot of the time. Legitimately, you can one-shot entire groups of enemies with the weapon we are using. So for the weapons we're using, this is the same as the weapons I was using when I first made this build a while ago, because mainly I was farming Slaughter Shaft, and since then pretty much all the strongest stuff, all the strongest farms in the game have been mobbing. The raid is pretty much all mobbing, even on the bosses. Slaughter Shafts are always good. Trials now have really big reasons to go do them, so recursions are very good. These are basically you shoot out discs that bounce between a ton of targets. So mainly you just want ones that have whatever action skill or whatever element you want on them. Now mine has a lifesteal on action skill end effect on it. I really don't need more lifesteal. This gives no damage. This thing bounces to pretty much 2 targets. I'm pretty much going to be full healed. So this anointed isn't really used, isn't factored in. It really doesn't do anything for this build, which is something that's not anointed. Now, if I'm doing shock or fire, this one does have an anointed that does extra damage. Now, the majority of the footage you're going to be seeing is on Slaughter Shaft, so I don't even use this. If you have ones with good anointed, use those. But this is mainly trying to be a build that doesn't have the best anointed. So mainly in the footage with mobbing, you'll see this, that really more lifesteal doesn't do anything. Now, a bit more for bosses, you're going to need something that has good anointeds for bosses if you want to kill them fast. Specifically, I'm using the good rolled Cutsmans, which I've had for a long time actually. I've used these in so many videos now. But if you can't get these, Cutsmans are still going to be good. You're just going to kill the boss slower. That's pretty much how it's going to be. If you can get Phase Cast, which increases weapon damage by 250%, that's good. Even better is the Phase Slam, which increases by 300%. And for bosses, you would basically just switch to that action skill, and that's it. Cutsmans are pretty much good for every boss in the game. If you have any other good boss killing weapons, ion cannons, you could switch to them and still do amazing for boss killing if you want to do that, and those are much easier to get. They're guaranteed drop in Mayhem 4, you could do that. Anything that's going to be good at killing bosses. For a shield, I'm using a Transformer. This one is basically a normal Transformer, not anointed. I threw all my not anointed Transformers away, but this one has an Iron Bear anointed on it, so it does nothing for us, so this one could be considered not anointed. Singularity Firestorm Grenade I'm using. I just like it for pulling in enemies. This also has a Terrified anointed on it, so it does nothing at all for us, so that one could be considered not anointed. We already went over our Phase Zerker class mod, and then our artifact. Mainly I'm using this for Flesh Melter because I'm doing Slaughter Shaft a lot. You can use any artifact you want. The Victory Rush, which is kill a badass and trigger Victory Rush for movement speed and damage, is very good. You don't need that. Pretty much use whatever artifact you want. If you're using Corrosive, I'd recommend getting any Flesh Melter with mobbing. It's going to be really, really good. But pretty much any artifact you want to use, if you want to go more tanky, whatever you want to do, it's not going to be a massive change. The Flesh Melter, if you're using Corrosive, will be, but that's pretty much the only one that's going to be a massive difference. So that's pretty much the entire build. Some other stuff that's good, which I don't use in this video, but they can be good. Brainstormers are very good. The new ion lasers are very good. The new ion cannon is insane, as everybody knows. Then pretty much any other weapon that you think is good that's going to be good for mobbing or boss killing, probably going to be good with this build. The talent layout really sets up as a really strong foundation to pretty much use anything you want. So that's the entire build. I hope it helps some of you guys that maybe are newer to the game, maybe haven't gotten super lucky on the best anointeds, maybe are new to Amara or something like that. Hopefully it helps with giving you guys a good build that works on Mayhem 4 without all of the best anointed rolls. So subscribe if you want to see more Borderlands 3 content. Leave a like if you liked the video. Leave a comment down below what you guys think about this build. If you guys have any questions about where to get any of these items, how the build works, or anything like that, leave it in the comments. I'll try to reply to everybody, and thanks for watching.
Stop struggling. Ready to unleash. Feels so right. I can feel the power.
All right, damn it.
Time for a fight.
I am order, and you know. Time of all thieves is over. You're a monster, but in a fucking good way. Wow, 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 wow.
Day. worth the sweat.
For the twin god!
Take them out.
Protect me!
I'm unstoppable. Hands up.
I'm still upset that I can't say fuck! Garbage!
Fully energized. Face roll.
Big shit! You rock that ramp! Like this!
I am brimming. Here I come.